In his ongoing battle against fun, Juan Soto has declared he's against puppies in costumes and fully supports standing right by the flight gate way before his group number has been called. Jerk move.
You're listening to the Selfie is Godcast with Zach Meisel and T.J. Soupy.
Read the room, Juan. Read the room. Everyone's here to see one thing, and it's not you hit a bomb. Get out of here with that noise.
Let's see if he's the only one who hates fun. TJ, do you have the club music at the ready?
Oh, it's in the chamber. It's ready to go. At the most opportune time. Were we all Angel Martinez sitting on our keisters? You see that reaction after he thought he had it. He thought as he's going back to the wall in center field, trying to preserve that no-hitter for Gavin Williams. And there have been times in the past where you see a play like that made in a no-hitter. You often think of the Kefis play. There's usually a few of those peppered into a no-hitter, but occasionally you get the play where somebody goes up and makes a spectacular play. And Angel thought he was on his way to doing that. And how did that ball escape his grasp? And as he sat on the ground, the expression on his face told more than you and I can express in the next hour.
I believe the fellow's name was Dwayne Wise, who made that leaping catch at the wall to preserve a Mark Burley perfect game? No-hitter? He had a couple no-hitters. Perfect game? Perfect game? How quickly can you Google perfect game, as I was saying, in 2009. Yeah, you always get at least one, except when Irvin Santana threw his no-hitter in Cleveland on that sleepy afternoon getaway day in 2011, 2012. And he gave up a run. It's like no one even knew he had a no-hitter until about the 8th inning.
Yeah. First inning run, right? I think.
Yeah, and I was on sidebar duty that day for MLB.com, and I had to write about the defensive play of the day that preserved the no-hitter. And there really wasn't one. I think I got like a Howie Kendrick, like, hey, he moved really well to his side and snagged that grounder.
Oh, yeah, I always make the joke. That Indians team was so bad they couldn't even get no hit properly.
Yeah.
They couldn't even follow the script for that. You remember who started opposite Irvin Santana in that game? A man that has opened this show before, which means you paid him a little bit extra money to do it, but David Huff.
David Huff
Huff started that game. Yeah. I think he was twirling a gem for a little bit in his own right, his first few innings. Probably didn't compare it at any point to what we were witnessing with Gavin Williams, where, yeah, the walks were prevalent. He had 4 of them in the outing, and that, of course, was inflating the pitch count. And as we got deeper and deeper into this game, he was getting helped out by some early swing contact. I was like, thank God, keep doing that. Keep doing that, because I don't know. I think you're going to let him go out there and keep pitching until he's crossing like the 135 pitch barrier. Then I think we're going to have a conversation. But even at that point, this man is a horse. You look like that, you should be able to take the ball and throw as many pitches as need be, because you're up on that mound. You're a mountain of a man. They call you the big rig for a reason. There was no point at that where I was like, is this where you're going to take him out? No, you're going to keep handing him that ball and let him keep going out there until either he gets the no-hitter or it gets broken up. But either way, you're going to let that man go out there and finish it. No one's going to rip that ball away from him. I don't care that he's part of the future. Give him the damn ball.
So, okay, let's back up for a second here. So, I don't know if people really know much about Gavin Williams. He is built like a New York City skyscraper, right? I mean, he's, 6'6", 250 pounds, and he just, like, when he walks by you, I mean, that dude's just massive. And that's saying, I'm 6'1", cosplaying as someone who's 6'2", and he towers over me, right? So you see this big dude, you see this guy on the mound who you're just like, that guy could throw 250 innings, right, and not break a sweat. Here's the thing about him. He's a goof. And I need people to know this for a second. So he is the guy who loves walking past you and tapping you on the shoulder you least expect, right? and then like talking about it afterwards, like what you were thinking when you got the tap, what he was thinking going into the tap. He's the guy who loves to challenge lightheartedly the team's head of security, whose name is Paul, who is built a lot like Gavin, and it is his job to protect the team. And this is a dude who's been in the Secret Service, and like Gavin loves to just pick fights with him. So you'll just be like standing in the dugout, and he'll just be chewing some gum, and he'll just like drop a line on you or a random question that you're just like. There's so many times where I'm just like, what? That is not what I expected to come out of your mouth right there. So knowing all that, there's a fun juxtaposition between that personality where he's just like this simple, kind of quiet but goofy dude, and what he can be like on the mound. And this guy who's like, all right, pitch 126, let's go. I'm trying to do this thing. And then think about what he's been through this season, right? And think about how frustrated certainly all of us were watching him, because he'd be at 95 pitches and it'd be 1 out in the 4th, and he's walked 5, and you're like, oh my God, your stuff is so good. Just throw it over the plate. But he's been going through a lot. You know, his pitch arsenal has changed quite a bit. His delivery has changed. The mechanics have changed quite a bit. And you're seeing the fruits of that labor now. And so, you know, this goofy, fun-loving guy was pretty angry for the first couple months of the season. And now he has a gem like this. And I just think it's so perfect. And I'm glad everybody got to see when he's talking to Andre after the game. And Andre's asking about the game plan. And Gavin's just like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know if we had one. Like, it's just perfect. But that's the type of pitcher he is too, where the stuff is so good when he needs to just rear back and fire that fastball past guys, right? But he had that at the disposal. He had that beautiful curveball that guys just could not time up, and everything in between. And you're seeing the evolution here. You're seeing development literally before your eyes as the season unfolds, and it's a special thing, and it takes me back to spring training when we're all saying, like, none of this should be a surprise. In spring training, we're all saying, oh my God, this guy's going to be just an absolute powerhouse on the mound. It just took a while to get there.
It's crazy to me that we still have to go back to Len Barker being the last time this has happened for Cleveland with all the great pitching they've had. And we've covered it. There was a couple of year stretch where it just felt like they all took a turn having a near no-hitter, whether it was Danny Salazar, Carlos Carrasco, of course. I was like, man, hi, Joey Butler. Don't let him grab a bat at any point in this game against the Mets. Doesn't matter if he's not on the roster. Don't let him grab a bat. I feel like there was a stretch where it was inevitable. Somebody's going to get one because there's too much good, talented pitching here. And then all of those pitchers have since departed, and there's been a new crop of pitchers here, and even them, some of them have even left. And now you're on to this Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee-led rotation. I feel like every outing that gets close, you still feel like the odds are against you. You're going to be able to complete a no-hitter because it's tough to do. I mean, everybody has to do their part. You can't have a ball that just squeaks through the infield, and you got to fight pitch counts. And even in this day and age where no-hitters have become more prevalent over the last 15, 20 years, and people have argued about whether it's still special. I think it's still special to see one. And I feel like every outing that gets close, there's a moment that switches in my brain that I believe it's going to happen. And as he carried into the 9th inning, I still wasn't sure whether he was going to complete it. I didn't have that supreme confidence. Maybe it was the pitch count. Maybe it's because the top of the order was coming up. I'm staring at Francisco Lindor, standing in his way. When he got Lindor out and he swung and missed and the helmet flew off, I thought for sure he was completing that no-hitter. That was the moment. We got to that Carrasco outing against Tampa Bay. I thought for sure when we got to the 9th inning he was completing it, and I think this is as close as I've gotten since that Carrasco outing to actually believing that the no-hitter was going to be completed.
So I had the same exact moment. So too did Len Barker. What are the odds? Len Barker's at Progressive Field.
Well, we all were there. So, okay. Yeah, I got it.
On Wednesday, Len Barker, the man who threw a perfect game on May 15th, 1981, nearly 17,000 days ago. It is insane. The organization with the vaunted pitching factory is the one with the longest no-hitter drought. Make that make sense. The organization that's had Corey Kluber, that's had Shane Bieber, that's had CC Sabathia, that's had Cliff Lee, that's had Carlos Carrasco, that's had Bartolo Colon, that's had, I don't know, Dennis Martinez, Jarrett Wright. There have been a lot of good pitchers who have come through here. How have none of them thrown a no-hitter? Have you seen some of the people who have thrown no-hitters? Anyway, Len Barker. Everybody was at that game, right? More people were at Len Barker's perfect game than were at Woodstock or the Cavs parade or TJ's kid's birthday party. I think some of that lore is because it's been so long, right? Like it's insane. We're going on 44 years. We're talking like which drought is harder to believe, that or the World Series drought? Like I almost think it's the no-hitter drought. See at least a handful of these every year.
Sure.
How are none of them thrown by a Cleveland pitcher?
Yeah.
How did this team get no hit 3 times plus a notable achievement
look at that.
in 2021?
Pull it out of just randomly. 1981, someone can have the game of their life. In 1980, your team doesn't have to be great. It could be the right opponent, the right atmosphere, and you got it. You got it that day. And for the amount of great pitchers that have come through here, it is truly an upset that they haven't at least gotten the no-hitter. I think even a perfect game's a little bit crazy to me with the amount of pitching talent that they've had. And not only the talent, but the people in this organization, the coaching staff to build them up, the level of catchers, they've completely thrown offense out the window in favor of guys that catch well, steal strikes. I mean, this could not have been set up any better to grab a no-hitter or a perfect game in the last how many years? And the fact that they haven't gotten one is absolutely wild.
So Len Barker was at Progressive Field on Wednesday for, like an alumni thing, okay? And first of all, what are the odds of that? And then the fact that as the game's unfolding and he's doing this corporate event, they're on the field. Someone from the Guardians is like, can we get the game on the scoreboard? Can we watch this? And so picture Len Barker standing there behind the batting cage at home plate, watching Gavin Williams try to etch his name beside Len Barker's in the Cleveland history books. And Len Barker had the same thought. He thought after that Lindor strikeout in the ninth, that was it. He was going to roll. It's crazy. I know Len Barker, he wants it to happen. He's been asked before. I think he was asked by someone yesterday, you don't want anyone to throw, right? You want to be that. And he's like, no, and he's Cleveland through and through, still lives in the area and does stuff with the organization, has coached in the area and stuff. He's been about this team. So there have been so many close calls. I mean, the Carrasco one obviously is the one that sticks out because he was one strike away. But there were others. I mean, remember Zach Plesac taking one pretty deep in Seattle? The crazy part, that Carrasco one in Tampa, that week, they had Corey Kluber or Cody Anderson and Danny Salazar, I think, had one pretty deep into the game, their games in the same series. I think one of them threw 5, one of them threw 6. Kluber had that one where he struck out 18 and he had the no-hitter into the 7th. It's bound to happen. So the thing for me is, Trevor Bauer, I remember he had one, and then I think the bullpen chipped in Houston opening week of the season in 2015 maybe, and then Nick Hagedorn gave up a homer to Jed Lowry as I was sprinting out of the stadium to catch my flight that I missed in Houston. There have been a lot of close calls. That's what's crazy. Bartolo Colon at Yankee Stadium in 2000, and then Luis Polonia took him up the middle. But, the pitch count was interesting too, because Stephen Vogt said he was going to go. We weren't warming anyone up until he gave it up, and then
I was surprised.
Guys start working counts, and you're like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah, get him out of there. I was surprised. I understand the aura factor here is you want him on the mound with no activity in the bullpen, right? There's something to the effect of it's almost, I don't know if it's a confidence booster for Gavin to not turn around and see anybody. Oh, they have this much confidence that I'm going to finish this off. Or if this is an aura thing for the other team, they go, oh my God, they believe in him so much they're not warming anybody else up. I don't think at that point they're really even thinking about it. I was a little surprised that they didn't have anybody at least kind of getting their shoulder loose so that if that got broken up, and obviously in this case it's instant, now the run is on the board, and even though the deficit is still big enough that you're not really worried about the outcome of the game yet, putting a run on the board does at least make that a little bit more realistic than when it was spread out and there was nothing on the board. So I was a little bit surprised, but there have been times in the past where I go, yeah, you got to think about the future. In the case of Corey Kluber, okay, he's chasing the 20 strikeouts. Now you can look back at it and say, oh, that was the one time you could get it. But I understood it in the moment. I did not question this at all. As we said at the outset of this show, Gavin Williams is supposed to be built for something like this. He is crafted as a human being to be able to take the ball and deliver 120 pitch plus masterpieces. And I think you also have to ask, were these strenuous pitches? Were these pitches where he was just, this is long, grueling at bats?
It's a huge part of it, yeah.
Yeah, certainly he had some long, deep counts and walked some guys, but he felt like he was in control for the entire outing. So I think that plays a factor too. This strain on the amount of pitches that you're making matters in this case.
For sure. That's a big part of it, period. It's something that, even back to Terry Francona, when he was here, that is what they examined, honestly, more than just the pure number itself. Logan Allen threw 113 pitches, about a week and a half ago. So it depends how you get there. And Gavin had that 25 pitch second inning, I think, but after that, he was cruising. You're seeing, I think the thing that is making him so great, and he's got a 1.64 ERA now in his last 6 starts. And they're still, the walk rate's still, okay, you can... The last 6 starts, what the walk rate is, I think he's got 16 walks or 17 walks in, 38 innings. That's a little high. But it's definitely better than what it was. There's one start in there where he walked 5, and that's definitely the worst of the 6 starts. And you're just seeing a guy who maybe is better equipped to counteract on a day when he doesn't have his best stuff. And through 2 innings, were you sitting there thinking this is it? He's going to throw a no-hitter? No.
Well, that's the wild thing. I feel like we've seen better Gavin Williams starts than even if he had completed that no-hitter.
So there are days, if you just look at his game logs, it's not like he's got, he struck out 11 against the Athletics first start out of the break. But the start after that was really good too in Kansas City. He struck out 3. What did he have? I think he had 3 strikeouts through 7 innings on Wednesday. It's not but he can get that when he needs it. He's not focused on that. It was early in the year. That start he had in Toronto is just burned in my mind. He had 100 pitches, 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts. And why did he have 9 strikeouts? Because he had to have 9 strikeouts to only give up the 2 runs in 4 innings because there was always traffic on the bases. And so I just feel part of the reason he could recover after 39, 40 pitches in the first 2 innings was because he didn't have to chase the strikeout and he could get some quick outs, early contact. And I just think what has happened is the arsenal has gotten to a place where he's got certain pitches that maybe are more intended to induce weak contact instead of get swing and miss, or just a pitch sequence, or he trusts more pitches, or if this isn't working, he can go to these two pitches to play off each other. I just think he's in such a better place. And really, like, you know, he had a couple, like his start at Wrigley wasn't great by any means, but like if you look back, I mean, he's been pretty steady. Like his floor is so much higher over the last month or two than it was early in the season. And it's funny, I was pulling up, I wrote in early May, I was giving out superlatives, and I gave out 2 to him, and they were tied together, and it was on May 6th. I wrote most likely to break Cleveland's 44-year no-hitter drought, Gavin Williams, but also most likely to fail to escape the first inning after throwing 55 pitches, Gavin Williams, right? And I give him credit because, you know, it seems like he's moved past. He had a start last year, or 2 starts back-to-back last year where I think he went 7 in Kansas City and gave up 1 hit. And then 5 days later at Dodger Stadium, didn't get out of the first inning, right? Yeah. So you've seen the Jekyll and the Hyde here, but I think he's gotten to a point where he's raised his floor. That ceiling's always going to be an ace. And I think he's working his way toward it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like here's the spectrum of outcomes, and he's just raised it a little bit. And maybe the ceiling doesn't raise as much, but you're certainly raising that floor. I feel like he's a guy that the statistics, even prior to his last few starts or even this really good stretch, would suggest that this is a good pitcher. You should trust him, but you still didn't quite know. And those elevated pitch counts really were that one thing that's standing in his way from defining himself as a really solid mid-rotation guy to a guy that you're sprinting to hand that guy the ball in game 1 or game 2 of a playoff series, and eager to see what he does against a really great lineup. And it's been fun to watch the evolution, even forget just year to year, but throughout the year. We joked in the month of June about his cutter and how it had become his most used pitch. And I compared it to like just that what is it, flex tape? I compared it to flex tape. You got a hole, you slap the flex tape on it. Oh, look, you don't have a hole. The water's not leaking out anymore. Is it a long-term solution? Do you want the flex tape on there forever? Maybe not, but it's a temporary solution to at least get results until you figure out whatever you need to work on with the fastball, which was getting crushed at the time. And we're seeing this trend throughout baseball. If your fastball is getting crushed, throw different variations of them. Throw the sinker, throw the four-seamer, add the cutter. Now there's 3 different types of fastballs to at least take the guys off the fastball. And when you throw 97 to 99 to even 100 miles per hour with the four-seamer, even in the day and age where guys can get after velocity, that feels like you should have more success than he was having with that. Well, since then, the four-seamer has overtaken, again, the cutter to being his most utilized pitch, and we saw that a lot here recently. It's really jumped up in usage, but also the results that he's getting with the four-seamer have been so much better. In the last 2 months, they're hitting 143 against it in the month of July. In the brief sample size in the month of August, again, 143, not getting a lot of really strong contact. So is that a result of guys not being able to just sit fastball as much? Maybe location, you're not getting it into as many bad counts. That could be a case where you're less predictable because you're behind all the time, 2-1, 3-0, 3-1, and I know I'm going to be sitting fastball. But maybe also the fact that you've been proven you have this willingness to now throw a different variation. At least it gives the hitter a little bit more doubt. Is he going to throw the four-seamer here? Is it going to be moving away from my barrel if I'm a right-handed hitter, or in towards me as a left-hander? Or is it going to be the cutter that's going the opposite direction of the four-seamer? He's become a little less predictable, and I think because the command has also gotten a little bit better. And on top of all of that, as it's happening, guess what? He has more, as he releases every pitch, more confidence and more conviction in what he's throwing and a more belief in what I'm doing. I think it all comes together to create this guy that looks like that front of the rotation stud that we were eager to see a few years ago.
You know, it's funny. What you just said, I would love to play a clip from 2023. I feel like it was the same conversation. Remember, like the numbers on the curveball and the slider were great. And we were thinking like, okay, well, how do you just get more out of this arsenal? Because remember, he made 16 starts as a rookie and he had a 3.29 ERA, and we were all sitting there like, don't want to nitpick. The numbers are great. You look like you're a frontline starter in the making.
I felt dirty complaining about a 3.29 ERA.
Yeah,
whatever.
like his fastball velocity wasn't holding, and then he made some mechanical tweaks down the stretch, and then it was holding better. And it just felt like there was like, even I remember the catchers saying like, we know we could get more out of these pitches that he has. And the funny thing is, so he had a 3.29 ERA, and he averaged just about a strikeout per inning, and like everything looks pretty good. The walk rate's a little high. His numbers are like identical right now, right? A 3.17 ERA, the walk rate little high, 4.8 per 9 innings, strikeout rate identical to what it was. And it's the same thing where it's like, okay, so I see that the first thing I see is that 3.17 ERA, but I know that you were laboring for like 2 months. So then I'm thinking, man, the light bulb clicked at some point, right? And you've been so good since then. So imagine like next season when you're not working through these delivery changes and figuring out what the right pitch mix is. And it's the same conversation. It's like, okay, like I see a frontline starter in there. I see an ace in there because I know what it's taken to get to this point. And if I didn't know anything, if I'm an outsider who's not paid attention to Cleveland baseball and I'm just looking up some stats because it's fun to surf Baseball Reference for hours and hours and hours, and I go to Gavin Williams' page and I see, wow, 3.17 ERA, strikeout per inning. If he can get the walks down, like he doesn't give up a ton of hits, this looks like a dude who's had a great season. And it's only his third big league season. It's the first year. He made 16 starts in 23, 16 starts in 24. He's made 23 starts in 25. Like this is his first full legitimate season. Like what a bright future. And you would say that without even knowing how much he fixed and changed and tweaked during the season. That's exciting. That makes it so that Tanner Bybee, who's trying to figure stuff out all year, like, and I think we both still trust where he's going, but there's not this pressure like, oh my God, Tanner Bybee, you need to be the ace, the opening day guy. Like, it's okay. Gavin's got this for now. Go get right. And the goal will be, when TJ and I have to figure out who the 3 starters are for a playoff series, we'll do that. You'll be okay.
Was that you calling for it, or are you just saying?
I'm still waiting on the club music.
Well, we haven't even got, Gavin's been so excited. We haven't even gotten to where they're at in the standings and all that stuff. So let's at least wrap up that conversation and give Gavin all the flowers that he's deserved. It's gotten to a point where not only do you trust him, but now I think there was already a little bit of support, but do we go into this offseason if he just continues on this path? Is he... I know there's the Stephen Kwan extension, and we're going to be talking about that all offseason. But in terms of things that can actually happen, is getting Gavin Williams extended? Is that vaulting to near the top of the list? Is it a conversation?
That sound means that TJ has proposed a contract extension for a Scott Boras client. Please try again.
I know, but... Are you going to tell me that's just not possible just because of who the agent is?
I mean, it always depends on the individual, but
of course
the individual chose Scott Boras as his agent, so I don't know.
So what you're saying is it's time to start the trade conversation. What could they get for Gavin Williams now that he's pitching like this?
By the way, Gavin Williams, the start, where were we? I don't think it was was it? Yeah, the Kansas City start that he made like 2 weeks ago now. He had to change his jersey every inning because he was sweating so much. So I know we had talked early in the year about him always wearing long sleeves, and that's usually the case, but it's not, not when it's 95 degrees outside. And that's just because he said it's just like a comfort thing, and I don't know, but I didn't know where to fit that, but it was just, I'm laughing at a pitcher rushing back into the clubhouse to change his jersey after every single inning. Yeah.
You want a little good lather, gets you a little bit, maybe more grip on the ball if
But
you
he
got a
said
little bit of sweat.
Yeah, but he said that day he just couldn't grip anything, and he went
if
6
you got
innings.
Too much sweat. That's
2
not a
runs.
good thing either. All this as the Guardians go to New York, and there's no better sound. Although I could say an opponent in New York getting a standing ovation is a pretty awesome sound. But even with me appreciating the appreciation in this case, I think the better sound was him cruising towards this potential no-hitter as the boos got louder in New York, and hearing Lindor get retired and the boos just raining down from above. And all this as the Guardians complete a sweep and now are within 6 games in the division? Wait, you're telling me I don't have to? Because when I would go to the standings page in the last 2 weeks, I wouldn't even bother with that first one on MLB where it shows you the divisions. No, we're going straight to the wild card page, baby. I don't even want to pretend to even look at what the difference is between Cleveland and Detroit. But now, friends, I don't need to do that because hit the damn music. It's back on. It's back on.
Here it comes. You said 6, but I'm not looking at games behind. I'm looking at that loss column. They're only 5.
All right, Nick Camino, we get it. Nick Camino was the purveyor of the look at the loss column.
Well, you're 5 back in the loss column, but you have 6 left against Detroit. So it seems to me like the Guards control their own destiny.
What are you trying to tell us here, Zach?
Just saying that when we played the schedule game a couple weeks ago, it's panned out pretty close to what I predicted. And we definitely play that with 100% seriousness and accurate forecasting.
Yeah, why? When would we ever not be completely serious on this show?
Can you send me the name of this actual song so I can listen to it on the treadmill later?
Summer Party?
While watching Price is Right?
It's a summer party, and that's what this is. It's a summer party. Forget what Zach said a month ago about you being able to do other things, and throughout the summer you don't have to tune into Guardians games every single night. Forget about that
episode.
The 162 game grind is the great equalizer in this sport.
It is.
And whatever you have seen in the last 2 weeks is always what is going to go forward. You always just extend that forward at the exact same rate that you've seen it. But in all seriousness, this team deserves a lot of credit. And how about, while we're giving out credit, everything that could have fallen apart as 25 other guys in that locker room are pissed off last week to see that their closer is now off the board for whatever reason. How about Stephen Vogt holding it together, what could have easily fallen apart? And yes, there are times throughout the year that Stephen Vogt has done things that we are left scratching our heads over. I think some of it is even overblown, and sometimes in the moment. I'm guilty of overblowing things. In the case of the Cade Smith outing, the first game against the Mets where he chose to go to Gaddis instead of Smith, I'll at least give Vogt the benefit of the doubt here, because I think there's something to just knowing that the safety net of Cade Smith is always your last reliever in line. It's why I think managers, even if they understand the whole ace reliever concept, there's still something in the back of their mind going, yeah, but I also like having another guy to go to if things fall apart. That aside, to be able to get to where this team is, to have a good stretch, to fight through the Clase A stuff, the Ortiz stuff, to get through the trade deadline. People don't know where they're going to be. Stephen Kwan, is he going to get traded? All of that stuff, put that in the rearview mirror, and this team is playing its best baseball right now. Stephen Vogt deserves a lot of credit, because that, when I'm thinking of what the manager's top job is, it's that. It's to hold the team together and make sure they keep going in the right direction.
I mean, that was the thing Mike Hargrove never got enough credit for, and this is what all his players would say, is think of the egos in that room in the 90s, right? You had Albert Bell, you had Kenny Lofton, you had Manny Ramirez, you had Carlos Baerga, you had just big, larger-than-life personalities, Eddie Murray, and he let them be themselves, and then there was just, everybody knew at 6 p.m., it stops. Now you're on Mike Hargrove's time. And for the hour leading up to the game, it's preparation, it's diligence, it's focus. And he had them ready to play. And he was able to manage the personalities and the situation and steer them to where they needed to go, right? For the most part. So, yeah, even in this world of, like, people think, and look, like, the front office, they have suggestions for the coaches. These guys all work together. It's collaborative, right? It's not like Chris Antonetti is writing out the lineup, handing it to the home plate umpire. But the point being, with all this influence in data and technology and analytics and front offices, there is still a purpose for a manager tying the room together and saying the right thing at the right time or not saying anything at the right time. You know, there have been moments where we're all like, are you going to have a team meeting? Don't you want to yell at somebody? And Vogt's always like, nope. Because if I do that, that's out of character and they're going to see right through it. And he's been right about that. Now, you could argue like you didn't have to let it get to a 10-game slide, and you'd be in an even better place right now if you went 3-7 in that stretch instead.
And we don't see everything that happens behind the scenes. We're not privy to every conversation that's had, let's say.
Which is why I still believe, like, I'm not going to sit up here and be embarrassed that they're winning now, because I think a lot of what people who were frustrated a month ago were frustrated by is still completely valid. Like, we're still watching Nolan Jones play almost every day, right? We're still frustrated that Bo Naylor hasn't figured it out at the plate. You know, this is not a perfect lineup by any means. This is not a team that has added talent to its roster since November. So I think there's a lot of frustration, but obviously they're playing well. They're playing with confidence. They're playing carefree, it feels like. And, you know, you have to wonder how much of that is tied to the fact that they just have nothing to lose. And yeah, they're playing a soft part of their schedule, no doubt. What the hell do you want them to do against a soft part of their schedule? I've never understood that argument where it's
but then they went to New York.
Bad teams.
They go to New York.
They swept the Astros and the Mets on the road. Like I don't.
I mean, what? Yeah, yeah.
So
100% what you're saying. I get it, but looking at the standings, having a .518 win percentage, knowing nothing else, if I said August 7th, this will have a 4 games above 500 record, a .518 win percentage, I think we all would have been, yeah, that doesn't feel exactly right. But those things can coexist. I can be disappointed about where the team is overall, but be so very encouraged and willing to give credit for being able to dig themselves out of the hole that they were in.
Totally.
And be playing some of their best baseball when it might matter the most.
Yeah. So I think you're seeing good developments finally too. I think that was the frustrating part, was the first few months felt stagnant, right? Like they're not playing as well as you want them to play and they're not doing anything about it. But now I see building blocks. I see Gavin Williams and Slade Ciccone taking huge steps in the rotation. I got to give credit to Logan Allen. I'd never mentioned him in these conversations about the rotation or what the rotation could look like in the future. And shame on me, because the guy's he's just been so consistent. And no, like he's not going to have sparkling numbers or anything, but he's going to go 5 2/3 and give up 2, maybe 3 runs.
God,
every
how
single
valuable
time.
is that? Making no money. How many teams would die to have that in the rotation? Right now?
And a rotation like this where you just Ben Lively goes poof and he disappears. Luis Ortiz goes poof and he disappears for very different reasons. Like they've needed someone
no Shane Bieber now coming.
Yeah. So I just think it's the fact that like you can see. I mean, I could talk about Nick Enright for hours, but like. They needed someone in the bullpen to emerge because it wasn't Andrew Walters. It wasn't Franco Alaman. Emmanuel Clase is gone now. And credit to him. Credit to Eric Sabrowski. Like, you're finally seeing developments. Now, I just mentioned all of the ones on the pitching side. In the lineup, not as many. I think Kyle Manzardo has rebounded from a midseason slump, and what happens when you get into a playoff series and you see 3 lefty starters in a row? Is he just not going to play in the playoffs? I don't know, but that's been really encouraging. Angel Martinez, one side of him has been really encouraging, right? Him facing lefties. I think what you're seeing from Rocchio and Arias is better, and I want to keep seeing them and see if there is something to build around there. I have to grasp at straws a little bit on the hitting side, but at least there's progress just in general, and you're finally seeing that. It's frustrating that it took until August to see it, or late July, but there is finally there's momentum here, and it's tangible. You can feel it, and you can feel it in the clubhouse, in the dugout. You can see it on the field by the way they're playing, and it feels like they score first. It felt like for 2 months they were always playing from behind, and they didn't have the horses in the lineup to play that way. It feels like they are usually playing from in front, and if they're not, they make up the deficit pretty quick. The Mets scored 2 the other night, and the Guardians answered right back. And I love the style that they're playing. I just think it's carefree. I mean, they went into Houston on a 10-game losing streak, and it was like, this thing what's it going to get to? 13, 14, 15? And I almost wonder if it was just like, well, what do we have to lose at this point? It's up to 10.
Who cares?
And we're 15 games back. And so whatever, let's just play carefree. And then you get to the end of July. So I have a comparison to make. We moved this week, and I've had a lot of time to reflect while unpacking boxes, and I swear, when do you make progress? I feel like I've unpacked 100 boxes and it hasn't made a dent. I think moving is a lot like this season for the Guardians, and here's why. There was this build to the trade deadline, was there not? Everybody was wondering, are they going to trade Steven Kwan? Are they going to trade Emmanuel Clase? What's this going to mean for Jose Ramirez? All valid questions. All things the front office had to kick around. Shane Bieber was part of this. But it was like an uncomfortable tension. And everybody knew it was there. And it was like, when you're moving, you're packing boxes. You're packing up your life. And you're just waiting for moving day because it's such an uncomfortable situation. I'm sitting in this house that I'm leaving, and there's boxes everywhere, and I can't find anything, and I have to order Uber Eats for every single meal because I packed all my spoons and forks 3 weeks ago. And it's just like, get me out of here. Get me to the trade deadline. I just want all this to be over, all the distractions, all the tension, all the uncertainty to be over. And the moving day happens, and you get to your new house, and it's just, there's clutter everywhere. But this is where I'm going to be, and I can move forward. And I can record a podcast even though I have a room full of bobbleheads everywhere and unopened boxes. And this isn't even my podcast studio. It's actually behind me. And I can't wait to get in there because it's more soundproof and you won't hear my kids screaming down the hall. But I'm here.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
I'm here, and I can just go about my business knowing I'm going to be here. And there's something comforting and reassuring about that. Now, what the Guardians dealt with was Emmanuel Clase being tied up in the gambling investigation a few days before the trade deadline. And that's like your old house flooding 3 days before you move. And you have to take care of that first. But there's just this, everybody could exhale. I think you saw with Steven Kwan. I think he needed that weekend to, decompress. He had kind of a rough weekend against the Twins, and then he picked it back up against the Mets. And I think everyone just needed a mental cleanse almost. And now they know this is who they've got. And for better or worse, go attack, go play loose and carefree and not worry about who might get traded where or what this means for the future or anything.
And I like that they called up one of the prospects. We talked about CJ Kafis coming up here. We gave him credit for his diving catch, looking like a right fielder, even though he's doesn't really belong out there, at least not yet. But you are getting some early returns there. He's contributing a little bit, so that makes you feel better too about the future in addition to what's happening now. You're getting good play and wins, so you don't even have to talk yourself as much into development when you're winning games, and you're able to look at the standings still. And when you're winning games, even if it's guys that won't be here for long, you can still feel good if Carlos Santana has a good day. Should he be in there right now all the time? Even with him being a guy that probably should hit lefties, I'd really rather look at more at the development of Kyle Manzardo playing against lefties. David Fry is going to be here beyond this year, and he's actually still contributing at a home run. This is a guy that his numbers are getting close to where Santana's are. So, to me, I think David Fry should stay in the lineup against the lefty. Carlos Santana, I don't know. But CJ Kayfus, they haven't been afraid to play him against whoever. They're willing to do it. So there's still some development here on top of the winning. Am I going to take great pride in seeing Gabriel Arias have a better series than Francisco Lindor? Damn straight I am. You see that? So Arias in the series hits .250, so he's 3 for, what is he, 3 for 10? 12. 13 plate appearances. Drives in 6 runs in the series. How many runs did Francisco Lindor drive in? That's a big fat goose egg, a 0. Yeah, I will be a little bit petty and take some joy out of that. But even Gabriel Arias here settling in. Are his numbers overall like the superstar, all-star sort of player? He's got like a 90 WRC plus. He's been worth 1.1 WAR here over at Fangraphs. To me, like, he's doing enough this year where he should be in the bottom of the lineup, but I'm not worried about who's playing shortstop every single day right now. I think there are bigger issues at play here, and he's playing good enough. You just keep playing him out there. He's contributing. I have been so encouraged, or especially the last week. Some of his at-bats have been so much better. He's had some long at-bats, has been spitting on some of the pitches that are clearly thrown outside with the intent of trying to get him to swing at him, and then driving the ball to the opposite field, creating some runs. It looks like a guy that's at least part of your future, part of the plan. Is he a big part of it? I hope not. You shouldn't be hitting him 5th and 6th in lineups. But just add him to the pile of guys that you're getting some better returns on and making you feel better about not only in 25, but what 26 is going to look like and beyond.
Yeah, they're getting timely hits too. That's doesn't it just feel like when the inning where Arias hit the 3-run homer, like, would they have had that big inning early in the season, or would it have just ended after scoring a run?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't put like a tangible thing on it, but it just feels like they're almost like they're hungry. They're on the attack. There's just vibes. There's vibes around this team right now. I don't know. They looked like I had to go remind myself that the Mets were really good. Like, I obviously, the names in the lineup, but I'm like, these are the Mets that like added a bunch at the deadline, and they should be as good as anyone in the National League, right? Like, if you didn't know, wouldn't you have assumed that the Guardians were the team that, if you were an alien who landed on Earth and watched these teams play, wouldn't you have assumed the Guardians were the Mets and the Mets? Which team has the $400 million payroll here?
I don't know that the Guardians look like they were so much better, but certainly on par.
But that's what
like they could compete with this
team. This did not look like David versus Goliath. This looked like Goliath or David versus David. I don't know.
I would rather see Goliath versus Goliath. That sounds like I'd throw my money on ESPN Plus to go watch.
I would watch
David
versus David.
Sure you would. We'll come back tomorrow and hit you with some Patreon stuff too. So I've got a couple things on the pitching staff and the bullpen in particular. So we'll save that. I know you've got so many notes and stories that I'm eager to hear tomorrow. So we're going to save some of that. But I want to, because it's sort of fitting what we were talking about earlier with a team that hasn't reached their full expectations coming into the year, but you want to give them credit for being where they're at now and digging themselves out. Think of all of the ire we lobbed at Stephen Vogt for saying things like, we got to play guards ball, and this wasn't us. And my frustration at the time was that every year you kind of have to prove who you are. Your identity can be what you want to be, but who you actually are is what you prove to us on the field. And that's where my frustration was. This is a different year. You have not earned it yet to say that this is not us. This is not how we play. It may be what you want to achieve in the future, but you haven't proven to be the team that makes the smart, fundamental plays, that run the bases well, that has the clutch hits, that makes a lot of contact, that plays great defense and doesn't have crucial mistakes at the wrong time. You can say all of those things, but you need to prove that you are those things, and they hadn't earned it yet at the beginning of the year. I'll give them some credit because this team has turned that element around. Now, the clutch hitting, that is going to come and go as it does in baseball. Can't really control that. Like, I'm really going to try harder this at-bat because I got to prove that we're a clutch hitting team and I got that clutch gene activated. But the stuff that you can control, not making stupid outs on the bases, playing good defense, and yes, even in the series against the Mets, you had the Rocchio one where it should have been a double play and he doesn't turn it. But then what does he do? He comes back later and doesn't let that affect him and makes a tremendous play to help save the game by catching a ball that was already by him when he's already positioned in and turning that into an out. Stephen Vogt said, this is not who we are. Well, at the time, that was who you are. But a lot of credit for proving that everything you wanted to be, they are capable of doing that, and that has been a big part of why this team is playing a lot better. It's not perfect yet. I don't think they've cleaned up every element of themselves. And really, why would you ever want to say it's perfect, we don't need to put any more work in? That would probably be foolish. But they're on the right path there, and they've done so much better job of playing the type of ball that they said they want to, and now they're proving that they're capable of doing that.
I think that's well said. Your main point is correct. You don't get to dictate what your identity is. You have to go out and prove it, right? And look, even when the names stay the same, the style, the brand isn't always identical year after year. And the names didn't stay totally the same this year. So, no, it's a different team. And honestly, it's a team that I think we knew at the beginning of the year the starting pitching, it was going to take time, but we could see, like, if Gavin Williams took the steps we thought he could take, if Tanner Bybee pitched like the opening day starter that he deserved to earn, if Luis Ortiz repeated what he did last season, or they found something that they liked, and you know what I mean? And obviously it hasn't panned out that way, but you're seeing the rotation is once again the backbone of this roster. And so is the back end of the bullpen, though it's had some hiccups. But I just think it's taken a while to sort of sort through this and figure out what exactly this team is. And I think sometimes when you don't know what your identity is because you haven't established it yet, you just go back to like what's familiar. And so, I mean, they're big. They've been promoting the heck out of guards ball everywhere you look, whether it's commercials on their TV channel where guys in spring training were talking about guards ball and what it means, or they're putting the definition on the scoreboard or whatever. And like, this isn't really that, but that's okay. You know, I think this is a team that just revolves around Jose Ramirez and a strong pitching foundation. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what you want to. You can call it whatever you want. Maybe the actual definition of guards ball changes year after year. It can still be an annoying style, a style that frustrates opponents. But yeah, you're right. Like you can't proclaim, oh, we're guards ball, but when you're kicking the ball around and you're not taking extra bases and like, so look, this lineup is far, far, far from perfect, and it doesn't fit what they did 3 years ago when it was 5'8" middle infielders slapping the ball around and going first to third. This is a different style, and I still don't really know what the style of offense is. I just know it's been more capable in recent weeks than it was, because it was really, really, they scored 15 runs in that 10-game losing streak, right? It was really ugly.
It's a distant memory now.
Yeah, but this is a team that I think has just coalesced, and I think Jose Ramirez proving that at 32, almost 33, he can still set the tone and be as feared as any hitter in baseball. That goes a long way. And so does getting 6 innings a night to keep you in the game.
Perfect. I'm so glad you leave us that way, because what do you think I want to talk about? I want to give some pitching love and maybe why the bullpen has been so much better of late, even without Emmanuel Clase being part of it. Some fun stuff coming up tomorrow at Patreon, so be sure to check us out there. Boy, what more damage could they do if Jose Ramirez actually contributes to the sweep? I mean, this guy was non-existent. How much enjoyment do you think he took out of beating Francisco Lindor, going to New York, a place they hadn't won yet, not at that stadium, hadn't won yet, and then they take all 3 against the team that is probably in panic mode.
Oh, you don't think we're playing the schedule game tomorrow when I look at this right here and see the White Sox and Marlins and Braves and D-backs coming up?
Marlins are actually pretty good.
Yeah, they're not bad.
I got as much as enjoyable as it was to see Cleveland take down the Mets. The highlights of that Yankees-Marlins series still play in my head. Seeing all of the Yankee pickups at the deadline contribute to a loss. Their big mega bullpen melting down instantly. They already sent Bird to AAA.
I know.
What in the world? Oh my gosh. Sorry, that's a topic.
97 World Series rematch.
Hoping for a different outcome.
Just like Mike Hargrove wrestled with Jarrett Wright or Charles Nagy for Game 7, we will be wrestling with which 3 starters should Cleveland rely on in the World Series in October.
Oh, that's a fun show. Can't wait for it. Guards are on a roll. We're out of here, baby. We'll see you tomorrow.